डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन युनिव्हर्सिटी.
Hello my dear student, welcome to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University Ahmedabad in Chaitanya studio of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University Ahmedabad. In the video series lecture in the course of BBA program in the subject called Management Accounting, in that block number 4, unit number 3, Marginal Costing. As we learned in a previous session, the meaning of marginal costing, different advantages as well as limitations of marginal costing. Then we ascertain the certain terms with respect to marginal costing and certain formula which can be used in a marginal costing, such as a contribution, profit volume ratio, break-even point in units as well as in rupees also, then the marginal safety also, then using a key factor, that is a scarce resources of that particular production also. So these are the different, or we can say the certain terms which can be used in a marginal costing, as we learned in a previous session. But today we are gathered for evaluating, or we can say that the illustration which can be referred to the marginal costing. So that formula, how can it apply in your particular industry or particular establishment, that we have to learn practically. On that matter, today we gather for solve some problems, or we can say some illustration with respect to the marginal costing by using that formulas. In that, my dear friend, the first illustration, that the following information of Himesh Limited Company is available for the March 2020. Production is 10,000 unit, sale price per unit rupees 50, variable expenses per unit rupees 42, and the total fixed expenses is rupees 64,000. As per the above this particular information, you have to evaluate or find out or calculate break-even point. Now the question is that, my dear friend, here the break-even point is defined. There is nothing defined that you have to find out the break-even point in unit or rupees. You have to think about it. Okay, whether the break-even point should be considered in a unit or we can say in a rupees. So there is a two ways with respect to this particular problem. Now the question is, sir, what is break-even point? What is that formula with respect to the break-even point? Say for example, here we find the break-even point with respect to the PV ratio also. Yes or no? So the question is how it can be evaluated. So the break-even point in units is equal to, answer is 8,000 units. But how it can be possible? So break-even point in units, the formula is fixed cost divided by contribution. Now what is fixed cost? Here the fixed cost is given in example, that is 64,000. And now the question is how we evaluate the contribution. So my dear friend, contributions formula is equal to, that contribution is equal to sales value minus variable cost. So here the sales value per unit is given rupees 50 and variable expense per unit is given 42. So easily we will find out, that is 8. So 64,000 divided by 8, it will be get 8,000. Now in this question, if I want to evaluate break-even point by using the PV ratio, or in rupees. So how we can find out? So the formula of PV ratio is equal to that contribution divided by the sales value into 100. So contribution is your rupees 8 per unit divided by sales is 50 into 100. So you can get PV ratio, and ultimately the fixed cost divided by PV ratio is equal to BEP. So you can find out also in that way. The next illustration is the total sales of the Shweta Company Limited during March 2020 are rupees 35,000. The variable cost are rupees 28,000 and fixed cost are rupees 21,000. So write it down, that is the sales during the March 2020 is 35 less variable cost 28,000. So you can get 7,000 is what is your that 7,000 is considered as a contribution over it. So C is equal to 7,000. Then less fixed cost 21,000. So ultimately it is considered in a loss situation. But here you have to find out the break-even point. So you can get easily break-even point with using the PV ratio also. Yes or no, my dear friends? In rupees. So the PV ratio formula is contribution divided by sales into 100. So here contribution is equal to sales minus variable cost is equal to 7,000 divided by sales. Sales is equal to 35,000. So 7,000 divided by 35,000 multiply with 100, then you will get the 20% is what, my dear friend? Your PV ratio. After that, using the break-even point formula in rupees, that is fixed cost divided by PV ratio, 20%. So 21,000 is your fixed cost divided by PV ratio is 20%. Then you will be get 1,05,000 is what, my dear friend? That is your break-even point. Very easy in a manner. But in this example, if I want to find out whether the Shweta Company Limited during the March 2020 get how much profit or loss, then how it can be the applied? Can you give me the brief idea with about it? So yes, you have that answer. How? So the easy format, that is a sales minus the variable cost is equal to contribution less a fixed cost is equal to profit or loss. So here the variable cost is a 28,000, sales is 35,000 and fixed cost is 21,000. So you will be in a suffering position, that is a loss, not a profit. Yes or no, my dear friends? So this is what ultimately give you the brief idea with respect to this particular BEP chart. In this particular sum, we describe the 4 different dimensions. First is contribution. Second is profit volume ratio. Third is break-even point. And fourth is profit or loss. So my question is to you that whether at this BEP point the Shweta Limited can sell this item at rupees 35,000. Answer is yes or no. Answer is yes. Shweta Company Limited can sell this particular product at rupees 35,000. Why? Because here your profit volume ratio is 20% on your volume. So you will achieve your profit at a 20% margin easily. And after achieving it, it will be the break-even point at rupees 1,05,000. So answer is clear in our mind that we use that marginal costing technique in our business. So this is what, my dear friend, that are the different illustration which is important for your practical aspect with respect to this chapter, marginal costing. Here you use that different types of formula with respect to the different types of illustration, or we can say the different type of practical inefficiency or practical difficulties in a nature, or we can say in a future. After solving this illustration, let us move to the third illustration. The following information of Kavisha Company Limited is available for March 2020. The production is 10,000 unit. Sale price per unit given 50. Variable expense 42. Fixed expense 64,000. Very good. Then find out the sales to earn a profit of rupees 35,000. In a first question, we have to determine the break-even point. In this question, we have to find out the sales. But at when? When we earn a profit of rupees 32,000. So here the question is, sir, how we get sales as per this profit 32,000? So my dear friend, there is a one formula with respect to it. Fixed cost plus profit divided by contribution. If there is a loss incurred in this, then the formula will be fixed cost less loss divided by contribution. So now the question is, sir, how we get contribution? So my dear friend, here we have to find out the contribution in a per unit. The question is why per unit? Because here the sale price per unit is given and variable cost per unit is given. The sale price is 50 rupees per unit and variable cost, or we can say variable expense per unit, is 42. So our contribution is 8. Now what is fixed cost? Fixed cost is given 64,000 plus profit. Profit is also given, that is a sales at a desired level of profit 32,000. So we considered profit 32,000 here. So 64,000 plus 32,000 divided by rupees 8, then we will achieve your unit sales unit is 12,000 unit. Why we get units? Because we find out in a per unit way. So the production is 10,000 and the sales is 12,000 unit over it. Now in this question, let us twist this question. Here you have to find out the sales at a loss of rupees 32,000. Then how it will be gained? Can you give me the brief idea with respect to it? Nothing to do, well, my dear friends. You have to just apply your mind and change the formula. How? That fixed cost less loss divided by contribution. And still you achieve your sales unit. Yes or no, my dear friends? It's absolutely right. So here you learn that how to evaluate sales at some desired profit, or we can say the loss. After this, let's sum up this session as well as this particular chapter, the journey of chapter, with evaluating that any change in the total production by an increase or decrease of 1 unit of a product is termed as marginal cost in economics. In a cost accounts, the same concept is put in another way, that a system of determining cost of production by excluding fixed from expenses from the total cost is known as a marginal costing. Under the marginal costing, the total cost is classified into the fixed and variable expenses, or we can say the fixed cost and variable cost, and only the variable cost or variable expenses are recorded in a marginal costing, whereas the fixed cost or fixed expense are excluded and they are charged against the fund arising out of the excess of selling price over that variable cost, or we can say the variable expenses. So this is what, my dear friend, you learn in this particular chapter. After solving this practical example, after learn that the different theories and certain terms which can be used in a marginal costing, you have to evaluate yourself with these three aspects. The first aspect is you have to evaluate this long-term question, or we can say the practical example. Second is a short question, and third is multiple choice question. After evaluating these three steps, or we can say these three aspects, if you want to learn something more with respect to this subject, then you have to refer the different type of reference book over it. So let us examine the first long question, or we can say the practical question of this chapter, marginal costing, is that from the following information find out the profit volume ratio, that is PV ratio. The fixed cost is rupees, we can say the 1 lakh, then the variable cost is 50,000, then the sales at rupees 1000 per unit of 5000 unit. So the PV ratio formula is contribution divided by sales into 100. So contribution, that is a sales minus variable cost. So you will be find that contribution then divided by sale, that is 5000 into 1000. So on that basis you evaluate your PV ratio, that is profit volume ratio. Now the question number 2, that find out break even point from the above question number 1. Now the question is, sir, how we can get the break even point? By using the PV ratio formula. So the formula is nothing but that, my dear friend, break even point is equal to fixed cost divided by PV ratio. So you can get break even point. The second aspect, that is a short question, that from the following information find out the contribution. Sir, contribution is very easy. How? That contribution is equal to sales minus variable cost. So here fixed cost is given, variable cost is given, sales is given. Then you can find easily the contribution, that is sales minus variable cost. That is 10 lakh minus 50,000. So 9 lakh 50,000 is what, my dear friend, your contribution. The second question is important. Find out the sales at a desired profit of 1 lakh in the above question number 1. So there's a formula that sales to earn that a profit, desired profit. So sales is equal to fixed cost plus profit divided by contribution. So fixed cost is given 5000, desired profit is given 1 lakh, so you will be get 6 lakh, and contribution is 9 lakh 50,000 in rupees. Yes or no? So you may get that particular sale also. After that, solve the third aspect, that is multiple choice question. Sales minus variable cost minus fixed cost. That is what? Your profit or loss. Then break even point is equal to fixed cost divided by PV ratio. Answer is true. Yes, this is the perfect formula of break even point while we use the PV ratio formula. Yes or no, my dear friends? So this is what, my dear friends, we learn this aspect. Then if you want to learn something more with this chapter, then you may refer these two books also. So hope that you will learn in a very good manner, and hope you gain something which can be used in your practical life also. Hope you enjoyed this study. Hope you enjoyed this particular practical example, or we can say the illustration with respect to the marginal costing. So now we will meet in the next session with the new chapter. Thank you very much, my dear friends.